There are different ways that you may discover me as a self-awareness coach and as a spiritual guide and teacher. But one of my favorite ways of being discovered is through tarot, something that I studied 25 years ago. And amazingly, I still use my same deck, which is the original Rider-Waite tarot deck that is extremely popular in tarot for a very important reason. It's because by the time this Rider-Waite deck that Arthur Edwards Waite decided to create, by the time he knew that this needed to be done, he was in the space of trying to fight for the reputation of the originality of tarot. If you haven't worked with me before, my name is Jodine Scher. I'm the co-owner of Lifeology. We do everything people development, and we really focus on self-awareness and helping you to adapt to anything in life, which we believe happens the more you know and understand yourself and decide on how life works in your own story and not the story that has been told to you. And that's why it's so important for me to get back to some of the roots of tarot, especially because when we go down the rabbit hole on the social media platforms, some of the ways that I watch tarot being used kind of makes me sad, and it makes me quite concerned about how it is really misused as a tool. Anything that disempowers you and takes away your bravery to explore life in the unknown and know that whatever comes your way, you will be brave enough and confident enough, and you will understand yourself and your traits and your personality enough to navigate it. Anything that does that is something that you should be concerned about, because it is disempowering to the worthiness of who you are. And that's what happened to tarot over time. So whenever I start a tarot reading, a lot of people say to me, oh, they're looking for a specific answer. Can they ask a question and can they get an answer? Is this relationship going to last? Should they make the move? What does the future hold? And I keep on saying that tarot is not a predictive tool. It is not about future gazing. It is something that really and truly helps you to see where you currently are at and give you insight into what you are missing about your soul reflectiveness, about your ego reflectiveness, and about the story that you're telling yourself. And before that, tarot didn't even begin in the mystery schools or in the temples. It started as a card game. It was in the 15th century, and it started in Italy. There's a belief that it started in Egypt, and that's not true. It started in Italy, and it was a deck of cards that were beautifully hand painted, and they were very luxurious, and they had symbols that did represent religion and the morals of life. There was nothing magical about it at that time, but they were deeply meaningful. They were never created for divination in any way. They were used to play a very specific game, and the game was called Tarocchi. I hope I'm saying it right. Don't let any of the Italians shout at me. And it was a very clever and strategic game that it didn't have anything to do with fortune telling, and it really was just about getting into the philosophies of and exploring the philosophies of life. So this version of tarot as the game was filled with philosophical and with spiritual imagery, and that lasted for well over 300 years. And it was only in the late 1700s, when there was a lot of social and political upheaval happening in France, that things started to really shift. Religion was losing power, the monarchy was collapsing, and enlightenment had really started to get disrupted in so many different ways. People were really, really afraid. There was a fortune of uncertainty, and like this searching began. This is when the searching began to hold onto something that brought calm in the chaos. And there were a handful of thinkers who got together. There were also opportunists who stepped forward, and they did something quite alluring. They took the idea that these tarot cards held secret ancient wisdom. One of them was a particular man, Antoine Carte de Belin. Please, once again, don't shout at me. He claimed, without any historical evidence at all, that tarot came from the Egyptian priests and encoded the mystical Book of Thoth. Later on, that was completely debunked. This theory was based completely on speculation. But it spread, and it spread fast. And as it spread, so tarot started to be used as fortune-telling tools. And then a specific deck was designed specifically for divination. And it was by a man, Jean-Baptiste Etiella, who created the first divination deck. This was well over 300 years after tarot had been used as a philosophical tool. So then that's when the rise of tarot as the fortune telling really started to come about, and there were a fortune of charlatans. There were definitely some people who were still trying to anchor tarot into what it was supposed to be used for, but this is where it got its reputation. And it was the same time when there was this fight for religious control, and that is how tarot got its bad reputation and was so very linked to being the work of the devil and going against certain beliefs. And it lost its authenticity, which obviously for me, as a tarot reader who uses it in the authentic way that it was created, it's so very sad for me. And it wasn't until the early 1900s that tarot began to reclaim what it was all about. And this happened because of Arthur Edward Waite. He was a mystic and he was a scholar, and he created what we have today as the Rider-Waite deck. It is the original deck, and I am just doing a little interjection. I only teach with this tarot deck, so any student who learns from me must have this tarot deck. And my suggestion is that if you are learning tarot, you learn off this tarot deck, because every single part of the image tells a specific story that narrates every one of the cards and gives the card its essence, and therefore makes it the tool that it is supposed to be. There was an incredible artist, Pamela Coleman Smith, who did all of the drawings for this. And Waite made it very clear that tarot was not about prediction. It was about transformation, and he believed that each card held symbolic meanings that was specifically designed for us to understand our inner world and to see how we were going to navigate the story for ourselves. So another thing that's very interesting is that Aleister Crowley, who created the Thoth Tarot deck, works it so that you do your own spreads and you navigate tarot for yourself, because it is supposed to be a tool that helps you to interpret your own consciousness. So even if you are working with someone, that is when you align the tarot cards with what they were authentically created for, especially if you're using a deck like the Rider-Waite deck or Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot deck, then you should be connecting into the true power of what it is, which is a system of self-inquiry, of spiritual study, and of honest reflection. There's no magic and there's no shortcuts to certainty when you use a tarot deck. And this is exactly how I teach it, and it's exactly how I do my readings. And this comes with just a little warning that if you are leaning into tarot because you are feeling uncertain and you are wanting the answers, then reach out to me, because you should be leaning into tarot. Absolutely, you should be leaning into tarot. I believe that everyone needs a tarot reading, once or twice within a year. But you are doing this because you want to empower yourself to be able to navigate the choices and decisions that you're trying to make, and to get comfortable with what you are calling something that is so unsettling, which is the uncertainty. And also, so many times in tarot, you are being told what other people are going to do. And we don't have the power to manage or control somebody else's actions in any way. So to take tarot and to truly empower yourself with it is to make sure that you are using it so that no matter what comes your way, it has guided you to the only certainty that we are ever guaranteed, which is our self-trust, our self-inquiry, what we believe spiritually and emotionally, and an honest reflection of where we are and what our truth is, and then what to navigate and what to do next from our truth. So I really hope that this helps. And if you want to learn tarot, especially if you want to learn tarot as a tool that guides you for self-inquiry, or to support people to eventually become a tarot reader and support people so that they have a better knowing of themselves, please reach out to me. And also to have a tarot reading and experience it the way that I do it. One of the things that I do uniquely with tarot is I have worked in the Akash for many, many years, going into the Akash with my tarot cards, and through that to do past life readings. So what I do is I do a tarot reading exactly as I would do it in this lifetime. We pull down your Akashic record and we energetically step into that particular lifetime, and we do a tarot reading to get a sense and an understanding of what was happening at that time. And once again, exactly the same thing. We are doing self-inquiry and we are doing honest reflection with an indication of what was happening in another lifetime. And that can help so much to release anything that you're desperately trying to unravel in this lifetime and you just can't. And there's a part of you that knows that you have carried it in, which we absolutely have. That is of my belief. Obviously, it's so important for you to decide whether you resonate with how I talk about tarot, how I talk about past lives, because that is the most important thing, is to work with people who you resonate with. So my wish is that this aligns with you in some kind of way, and that you reach out to me if tarot in any kind of way, if you believe that it can support you.